All he did was go out and be the all-time leading passer in the history of the Raiders. Right? It wasn't Derek that changed, right? It was the Raiders that changed. I'm a little upset, all right? So that happens.
Derek Carr has never ever complained about being a part of the Raiders. Even with all of the BS that Mark Davis brings him every single year, he has never complained once, and that is what David Carr, the brother of Derek Carr, echoed on NFL Network today. This all started on New Year's Eve through a random tweet by David Carr where he said 4 p.m. Pacific time on NFL Network, see you all there. But what was so weird about this is what he retweeted when he made this message. He retweeted a story by Warren Sharp that has showed how Josh McDaniels has sabotaged Derek Carr this year. There are studies that show that this season is a complete outlier for Derek Carr compared to the other 8 seasons in his career. And what is interesting is that David Carr not only said that Derek has done nothing but not complain and put up the greatest numbers for a Raiders quarterback in all time with the franchise, but also how he helped Davante get here.
He tried to bring in his best friend, Davante Adams. That trade was dead. The Packers and the Raiders weren't going to trade. They got on the phone and made it happen. So he's bringing people in the entire time. Is he appreciated for that? No.
And so we wonder, why did Josh McDaniels and Mark Davis even keep Derek Carr this year if they were trying to set him up for failure to then use that 1 year out to get rid of the guy? Obviously, if you have the 1 year out in the contract, you're never really planning on having this guy be in your long-term plans. And it was almost as if they used Derek Carr to lure Davante Adams to Vegas, and now maybe they're going to get their own guy, possibly Tom Brady, to then want to go to Vegas because boom, now they have Davante Adams. But overall, you could see that David Carr was upset. He did not have much time to say what he wants to say. Even in this tweet earlier today, he said there's not enough time to talk about the Raiders and Derek Carr, and instead they're going to be doing a podcast episode with Harvester Sports about the Raiders and Derek Carr. So be sure to check out Harvester Sports. They're even asking you, Raider Nation and tons of fans, to ask questions, and they'll have David Carr and also Derek Carr respond to it. Derek Carr is having to move forward, look towards the future, but very clearly David Carr seems upset with the ownership.
He never called out a coach, never called out the organization, never called out the top brass in the organization, and he's going to look for teams that have a stable situation between their head coach and their ownership, right? Stable.
And David Carr is explaining that Derek has had opportunities to sort of criticize the organization, maybe throw some flack at Mark Davis, but he's done nothing but be an upstanding franchise player for the team, even helped Davante Adams get here, and he gets nothing for it. He just gets scapegoated this season, and even had Steve Mariucci say that Derek Carr is a scapegoat this year.
He looks like a scapegoat to me, and I understand contract, get hurt, all this stuff, you know, but that doesn't carry enough weight in my mind.
It does seem like David Carr believes the ownership and the head coach lied to Derek Carr, were not honest with Derek Carr. I sense, in my opinion, this is another Baker Mayfield situation. Remember when Baker Mayfield went on that podcast this past offseason and said, hey, I was told one thing, and then they went off and did another, and so I felt disrespected. I think Derek feels disrespected here for sure.
No, I feel disrespected 100% because I was told one thing and they completely did another. That's what I'm in the middle of right now because I've had 4 different head coaches in 4 years, a bunch of different coordinators.
And I believe David Carr and Darren Carr are not going to hold back in this podcast episode on Harvester Sports. I think they're going to lay it out all on the line for their brother Derek Carr. And Derek has to play it smart. He can't go off talking about all kinds of stuff on a podcast. He needs to be looking forward to the future. But the truth has to get out and the truth has to be said. And it is obviously clear that this season for Derek Carr is a complete outlier. And for everybody hyping up Jarrett Stidham, this just feels exactly like the situation when Marcus Mariota filled in for Derek Carr in 2020, and Mariota had a good game even though he threw picks and lost just like Jarrett Stidham, and everyone started raving about the guy. And then back to reality this offseason, we're probably not going to see Jarrett Stidham in any starting role in the NFL. I am happy for the guy and I'm hoping that he can put it together against the Chiefs next week, but I think he had the benefit of the Niners not having too much tape on him, and Josh McDaniels clearly started calling some plays that actually helped the offense score points and move down the field, wasn't trying to sabotage his QB like he's done all year with Derek Carr. And even Nick Bosa said that Tom Brady could have scrambled on them.
It was, but the lanes we gave him, anybody could have ran through. Tom Brady could have ran through those. So
By the way, Jarrett Stidham had 37 rushing yards, not quite topping Derek Carr's single game high of the season in rushing yards. Derek Carr had 40 rushing yards against the Denver Broncos in their first meetup this season. There is still so much to learn about why this season did not work out. And even if you do not like Derek Carr, if the Raiders, Josh McDaniels, and Mark Davis deliberately sabotaged Derek Carr this year to justify moving on from him amongst the fan base, then really you can't respect these guys, because what they mainly did is waste a lot of fans' time and money. A lot of fans spent time and money believing this was going to be a great year for the Raiders because of all the offseason hype, because of all the moves they made. And if Mark Davis and Josh McDaniels knew they were always going to move on from Derek, set him up for failure, wasted fans' times, wasted everyone's time, wasted Devontae Adams' time, even though you could have just gotten rid of Carr in the offseason, but they were too scared to because Derek Carr just had a dramatic year where he was a complete leader of the organization with the Ruggs situation, the Gruden situation, and led his team to the playoffs. The fan base was in love with Derek Carr. He was voted the 64th best player in the NFL amongst his peers in the NFL top 100. So Mark Davis and Josh McDaniels were too scared to just move on from Derek Carr this past offseason when they should have just done it if this is what they were planning on doing anyways. Instead, it seems like they sabotaged the guy, so the fans start completely supporting it. But time will tell, and we will know for sure if this is the case, if they really did sabotage the guy, if they bring in Tom Brady, because you only do something like this and you only make moves like this if you know you have something in your back pocket that is for sure going to work out. We know Brady's not been afraid to tamper, and we know Brady was hanging out in Las Vegas just this year with Mark Davis. Either way, we'll keep you up to date with everything happening with the Raiders and the fallout with Derek Carr. Like this video if you have not yet, and subscribe to this channel for more Raiders content. My name is WiFiWillie. Peace out, and I hope you have a good one.